welcome to the Happy Soul Show, where we believe the impossible is absolutely possible, and we believe that every soul is on their own soul's journey. And whatever that path is for you, you are welcome here. My name is Janine Roberts. I'm the owner of Happy Soul Healing, and tonight I'm excited to welcome Matt. I've done forgot your last name. Halicki.
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 Either
Oh
or.
my
People
goodness, I already forgot.
say Halicki
I
or
already
Halicki.
forgot. I'm
They're
so sorry.
both
Matt
good.
is the co-owner of ThriveMindAndLight.com, and he is a level 2 QHHT practitioner from Royal Oak, Michigan. And Matt, we are so glad to have you on here tonight. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. We appreciate you coming. So tell us a little bit about you, like how you got started with on your spiritual journey, what that path has been like for you.
Sure. So I think what's important to know is that like I'm a 9 to 5er, have a corporate job, grew up in a very conservative part of the country, Catholic, you know,
You
very,
grew up in Michigan?
I grew up in Michigan. Yep.
Okay.
Just about 30 minutes from me and Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And yeah, I just think my upbringing was great. Had a great childhood, great family, school, church, all that stuff, right? So it's funny because I'll get to it maybe in a little bit, but looking back, you see little pockets of things. You're like, oh, there might have been a little bit of a sign or a little bit of a thing there. But yeah, going into college was really kind of like I think I know the world, and then I went to University of Michigan, which is the opposite of where I grew up, and it kind of start that like thinking through things, right? Maybe that what I learned wasn't so right, and that's where it kind of really started. And then with the woo-woo stuff, the metaphysics and all of that. When I was in high school, sat on the back porch with my dad and my brother, and there's just a big red light that hovered there for a few. I think it was about a couple hours. No one knew what it was. Kind of weird, is it a
Wow.
flare? Is it this thing? And my dad and my brother saw it, and we weren't really scared. We really were trying to like rationalize, oh, maybe it's this. And we're big sci-fi fans, so we joked it's a UFO, and maybe part of us believed a little bit of it. But really fast forward into like when YouTube was like nascent. So when I was that happened probably in 2001. Yeah, 2001, 2002. 4 or 5 years later, 2006, studying, sick of writing a paper. I'm going to go into the YouTube rabbit hole, and you know how that goes with the internet, and you start looking at different topics, and one leads to another. And I just remembered that one memory, and I was like, I'm just gonna YouTube, like, has anyone else ever seen that or what that is? And of course, I don't know if you've experienced this too, but I feel like metaphysics has had like epics where it was like very conspiracy theory heavy, and then very like now we're kind of into the healing part of it. But if you were to Google like in 2005, you'd see like the Camelot Project and Carrie Cassidy and all this, like, all the Greys are out to murder men, and they're trapping souls and doing this stuff, and
The
maybe
Greys
all of
have
it's
always gotten a bad rap, right?
I mean, like, but this was like everything is like, it was pretty dark and gloomy if you were on the internet looking at some stuff from what I was getting served anyway. But one person caught my eye, and I think you're gonna know who I'm gonna say, and it's Dolores Cannon. So through all of the searching, you see this woman who literally looks like my grandma. And I'm not saying, some people say, oh, it reminds me of my grandma. She literally, if you put photos next to each other,
she literally looked like your grandma.
like very similar. And so,
Nice.
and so much respect for, Dolores, who obviously is, she passed in 2014. But one of the most amazing thing is that she wasn't this like highly studied con artist. Like, she was just very innocent, asking lots of questions. And so when you listen to her,
very nosy, right? Like very, like she researched everything so thoroughly, so that we didn't have to,
100%. But even in her book, sometimes like words would be defined, and I'm like, that's kind of a common word. Like, she wasn't this like mastermind plotter, whatever.
Right.
So everything was just very like innocent and curious, and the stuff coming out of her mouth was so out there and so unbelievable that I was almost like, well, this kind of makes more sense than. And I think I really got into the custodian stuff because I was looking at that, and then it got into Atlantis, and it got into all kinds of stuff. So
Mhm.
I kind of put that on hold, and then as I got into adult life, I had like a meh relationship at the time. It was fine, but opposite work schedules. Moved to a new state, moved to Illinois, moved to Chicago, and then I hated my job. My first job is the inside sales job, calling 125 people a day, setting 10 appointments, running 5 every day. It was terrible.
That sounds awful. I hate that. I've done similar. So
It's just not. It's not for me. I don't think it's for anybody. Um, but I started reading her books because Google Scholar started scanning books into the internet, and so I started to read excerpts and chapters of it. And so instead of doing what I was supposed to do, I would just read her stuff, and then I would talk to about friends, and I'd find out that a bunch of friends were interested, or at least open to talking about some of the theories and concepts. And then, sessions were offered at the time in the Ozarks. It was like $700 for a class, but I didn't have the money or the time. Didn't know that it was really like, I didn't really get into like the healing part of it. It was all about like, it
Mhm.
was all just kind of like curiosity
Yeah.
at that time. But then as she started writing convoluted 3, 4, and 5, it was all about like, okay, all that other stuff is like, that's just what we did to catch you and hook you in. That's all like not that important anymore. This is
Yeah.
the really important method and
It's
things like that.
easy to get hooked in. Like I have like all her books right here. Like this was the first one I ever read, Hidden Sacred Knowledge, and it hooked me. So I
Oh,
have like
100%.
all of them now, and I've read most.
I think I read every single one except for A Soul Remembers Hiroshima. I didn't read that one, but everything else, I think I read. She wrote 19. I think I read 17. The Nostradamus one was the one that got me like,
Is that
this is
was that your hook?
that was the time in which it was more of an interesting and thought provoking to, oh, this is getting kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I don't know if I don't want to spoil it for anyone that's going to read it, but she lost a client, right? And so in those days when she would do work, she would have a person that she would work with for sometimes years to get the information based off of a particular past life.
Yeah.
And this person had a problematic something happen in her life, and she's like, I'm done. And Dolores was like, crap, I can't finish my book. And it was not an easy task. She was, as you remember, like decoding Nostradamus's quatrains,
Yeah.
which is not like a small task, and she didn't get through them all. And then the method, I'm not going to say, I want everyone, you have to read the
Yep. You gotta
Nostradamus
read it.
books. They're just so
Definitely.
interesting. But the method, how she got back on track is like, she couldn't have made that up. She couldn't have, like, that's
Yeah,
just
I
too,
don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that myself. I've not read all the Nostradamus books.
she, I'll give that a little
I've
bit.
only read the first one.
She remember, so in the between life and death, there's the tapestry room, or
Mhm.
there's like the 3 realms. You have like the hall of knowledge and
Yeah.
learning, and then you have the astral realm, and you have something else. In the halls of learning, there's the tapestry that you learn about in Greek mythology, which are all the threads of everybody's soul that makes this beautiful pattern. And
Yeah.
there's guardians there. So she had a different client go to those halls, ask the guardian if we can tap into Nostradamus's thread, and then would just communicate with him through
Oh
his
my
black,
goodness.
right,
I
through
did
like
not know that.
telepathically, through his black mirror, like the mirror that he like would look
Yeah.
into, like. And then he started giving her, like, he
And
started
that
asking her
worked.
questions. Yeah, and then he started asking her
Oh my,
questions about what time
I
was
just
life in
got
art.
chills so much. I just
Yeah,
got chills over that. I did not know
well,
that. Oh,
yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
then
have
and then
now
he
I
would
have to
ask
read them all.
questions. He would ask questions like, "What's going on in your world right now?" And he'd be writing it down. She's like, "I think he's like editing a prophecy based on what we're talking about right now." So it just got into this weird, like, that's the first time where it's like, okay, I can kind of understand through like the tuning of the radio how time can
Mhm.
be a continuum and all stacked. So that was,
That's wild. I did
it's
not know
too
that.
wild to be like, people making up their own past lives, and it's just too wild. It's
Yeah.
too specific, and it's too whatever.
Well, I know as a practitioner too, you just you get people in who are just kind of on the fence. They don't know if they believe, and then you get to the higher self, and like the stuff that comes out of their mouth, it's almost like a different voice. It's like so maybe sure of itself, right? Like, whereas
Sure.
the person was just kind of, hesitant or unsure, and then you get to this higher self, and it's like insane. So we know as QHHT practitioners what that is, and what that's like, and that power that is there. And that's really what Dolores always tapped into. That's what all her books are. It's messages from that higher consciousness.
And those same clients will leave kind of quiet and not knowing what happened, and they kind of question, and they're very introspective, and it's very, I don't know, I have to figure out the best way to do a post session debrief, but like
Yeah,
I think people need a day or two to like
they
digest it,
do. They
listen to
they
the
need to
recording
process it. Yeah,
a
because
lot.
I've had sessions done on me, and even as a practitioner myself, I'm like, wait a minute, did I really see that? Was that really, like, people question themselves, right?
Yeah.
And that's why the recording is so important. That's why we record the sessions and tell all the clients to listen again. But sometimes I do say, especially if it was very emotional, I do tell them, wait a few days and then listen, because they need time to process that, for sure. I totally agree.
100%. 100%. So the Dolores stuff got to me there. I then kind of did the whole, I need to make money, have a career before I can do stuff like this, because I didn't know there was like a, I mean, in 2013 there wasn't like, that was the very beginning time where
Yeah.
they were really starting to create like the QHHT Academy. They were doing trainings, but that's when it like, that's when Julia got involved, and that's when they really got going with it. And I told myself I need to have a career and make money and be stable and buy a house and do all that. So, life happened. I got laid off from a job. I moved to New York. I had no, and looking back, I never had any plan. Like, I'm Capricorn. I'm like super Mr. Planner, but like went to New York without
Hmm.
a job, found a place that when I was working in Chicago would visit, interview called me. Like, it was just, it's stuff that no matter whatever I tried wasn't working. Things started kind of coming into place. But then, post COVID, came back home to Michigan, wanted to be closer to family and buy a house, got married, did all that stuff. And then, I think I kind of like kept reading and was very interested along the ways, but I kind of toned down the spiritual a little bit, because there's some people you talk to about it, and then there's some people you're like, meh, it's not worth it. I don't want to like, I want to talk with someone about it. I don't want to like explain to someone or preach or anything.
Yeah.
Um, So it kind of took a backseat for a little bit, and then last year I was in Chicago, and I had a instance where I have to keep things a little vague because I don't want to. There was an issue where I work where somebody emailed. I'm the head of marketing for a company, big company, and somebody that I'm very close with, I worked with, was using their social media accounts to promote some really unsavory things. So it was during June of
Mm.
last year. So it was like anti-gay, anti-pride, women
Mm.
should be subservient. It was very leaning towards a particular way of thinking, which I don't want to get more
Mm.
specific about because it's not the point.
Gotcha.
Um, but it was somebody I've never felt betrayal as much as I did. It was a person that I looked up to in how they
Mm.
worked, etc. I escalated it in my position. This isn't safe for the company. It's not good for investors. It's not good for this. Like, we can't have. I mean, it was 250,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't someone's 700,
Yeah.
person Instagram personal account. It's 250,000 people. Um, and a lot of interviews like this in other languages in other countries. It was a big,
Wow.
big, big, like,
Yeah.
big operation. My executive team told me what I wanted to hear, but they gave him a week probation and sensitivity training and did nothing else. So
Wow.
so I was a little bit beside myself. I didn't know what to do. Do I stay here? Do I go to clients and, do I stick it to the company? I had a whole bunch of like angry thoughts in my mind. And then I woke
Hmm.
up one day, and this is one of those stories where you hear it and you're like, whatever. But like, I woke up one day and I just had clarity of mind where it was like, what would Christ do in this scenario?
Yeah.
And the problem and the clearest message that I've ever gotten, and it wasn't anything fancy. It wasn't like there was, an angel at the foot of my bed, but it was just I woke up with a clear thought of like the whole problem with the world we have today is that everybody is trying to strangle the other person, and
Yeah.
we need, like, even the person that has done you the most wrong is the person you need to work the most to get along with. You don't have to like them, you don't have to be friends with them, you don't have to respect them, but what you can't, like, so, and after that it was just like everything. Fast forward to today, so that's when I got back into, like, I got a lot of QHHT if you if you Google it or you look at Dwellers Canon, the QHHT people will blast you with YouTube ads. You can't get rid of them. They do a pretty good job of doing that. But that kept showing up and showing up and showing up. And I was like, all right, I get it. And then I just also had another clear thought, which is I have the time, I work remotely, I have the money to spend on training. This is what you've always wanted to do. And you said when you're younger, like, now I'm calling you to task, go do it. And so I started training. I literally treated it like it was live. Like, I started on a Saturday morning at like 7 in the morning. I was done at 5 p.m. I took a lunch break. I did it like it was like a 3-day conference thing and just went through level 1. Like,
Yeah.
it's like Dolores talking and training her method. It was like a dream come true to me. It was
Yeah, and
very
it's like once
surreal.
you start, it's like when I started the training, it's like I just couldn't stop. Like I was like,
No.
I'm like, okay, just one more video, just one more, you know. So it's like she's,
Oh yeah.
yeah. I
It
mean,
was
you just can't get enough.
no. So I did level 1 pretty quickly. Found some friends and family or neighbors that would allow me to do practice sessions, and
Hmm.
the first one is always like the most nerve-wracking because you're like, am I just going to make a complete fool of myself? And it was a pretty good session. Like, got through a lot of stuff, and at the end of the day, if the client feels that they've progressed in some way or they have done,
Hmm.
like, that's all you're doing it for. But yeah, and then, like, fast forward today, I still talk to this person at work. We talk about spirituality. He's mailed me books on metaphysics, and he doesn't have any channels anymore. It's like the definition of, like, when you talk about timelines, everyone thinks of this like fantasy supernatural thing, but like to me that
Hmm.
was the most, like, what's the word? It was the most picture perfect example of, like, choosing this path. Like, it's almost like those channels didn't exist, that person didn't even really exist, or that they've moved on a different path and a new person took their place.
Hmm.
um it's just kind of like it was my first acceptance into kind of what we would say is surrender, right?
Yeah.
Into just like let things go.
Yeah. The
And it's
path
just
of peace is the hardest. It really is. And
yeah.
you said that you asked yourself, what would Christ do? And, and every session, almost every session that I've done, QHHT for someone, and, and they're going through, or they've been through some trauma, or they've had some past hurts, the higher self every time says that forgiveness is the key. Forgiveness
Always.
and love. Forgiveness and love is always the answers. And no matter what client it is, I ask the higher self, what do they need to do? They need to forgive. They need to love more. That's the answers to everything, right? Like that's life.
100%.
Yeah.
And the words are cheap, right? Like, you can say them and hear them
Mhm.
and everyone says, oh, that sounds good, but when you experience it, and again, like, I'm not perfect at it, it was one scenario out of
Yeah,
how
I
many
get
thousands that you
it.
get, right? But like,
Yeah.
it took that one that was like, it really shifted my mindset and understanding it. It's not just like knowing it, it's understanding it. Um
Mhm.
and yeah, so I now practice this. Like, I work full time. I do it on weekends right now. I'm trying to kind of overload my QHHC schedule so I can cut back on the other stuff, and I want to continue doing it. Like,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Um I don't have any experiences until this year where, like, I was like, "Oh my god, that was a weird thing," or this whatever. So there was never like this visitation or this whatever whatever. It really was just a really slow, almost like a decade of unfolding a really deep understanding of certain things, and then kind of piecing it together and not ignoring it.
Yeah. So what, I mean, I know you've had some, like it's just the amount of energy you feel when you go into a session, when you're getting ready to go to the higher self. Like, what has been, I guess, your most interesting when it comes to just how you personally felt, or maybe even things that were revealed that the client didn't know, like what's been like your wildest um, session so far?
I had one person that had like preconception or precognitive, so they were extremely expressive with their hands, and they were
Hmm.
doing a lot of like, I would say they were almost like mantras, but with hand motions. They're doing a lot
Wow.
of affirmations and anchoring in things with their hands, and it's not something I was like, okay, like whatever, it's good. Whatever this person's doing is
So during the
fine.
session, they didn't realize they were doing that.
I don't know. Actually, I never asked, but
Mm.
during the session, I don't remember if they commented on it or not, or if that was like something that I don't know them personally, so maybe that's something they're very expressive like that. And
Mhm.
but the thing that was odd is that I think it's behind me somewhere. It's the only questions I've kept and not given back, but it was probably 6 pages of questions with size 11 font. And I think they wrote it the night before and they just stream of consciousness. They're like, if I'm going to get this in, I'm going to ask
Wow.
all my questions. So I think there were
Oh my
115
goodness.
questions,
Yeah.
115 questions, which I'm like, okay, we'll go through them all. A lot of them
Okay.
repeated themselves. Some of them were like, whatever, whatever. Um, but we got to page like
Yeah. Yeah.
seven,
There's
six,
no way you
six or
can get
seven.
through. Like, yeah.
Well, no, but I'm saying we got to that page, and then the third question
You got
down,
through all those questions, 115 questions.
I told her I would.
Oh
But
my
the thing
goodness.
that was amazing is, like, we
Yeah.
were somewhere randomly in the middle, and, like, the 4th or 5th question down, and she just said, she goes, "You can skip that one," like, really powerfully and quickly, and I was like, "What?" And it was like, the question was like, "Is my subconscious trying to sabotage me?" So it was just like, okay, that was really weird because, like, there's no way this woman memorized all of her questions in a sequential
Right.
order. And then towards the end of the session, she was inscribing a lot of things on the sheets in the bed. So, like, in QHHT, you're on a bed, like, you get covered up because you get cold, just for anyone that doesn't know what it
Mhm.
is or wonder why she's in a bed or has sheets on. But she was, like, drawing the infinity sign, and I couldn't see it because it was on her right hand across her body, and I was sitting on the other
Mhm.
side, and I just heard the swooshing motion. I said, "What are you inscribing on the sheets?" And she goes, "Oh, this one's for you for you next week." And I was like, "For me? Like, what do you mean?" And she goes, "Oh, it's the infinity sign. It will make sense next week." And that was it. I was like, okay, I moved on. I don't know if you're level 2, correct?
Mhm.
Do you remember what the first thing Julia does in the first video of level 2?
You mean the out and in? Mhm.
Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So I would like that was what she was doing, the ease and flow and setting
Oh wow.
intention. But it was just like it was too specific and too like it was very interesting. Um
Hmm.
that was a creepy weird one. I think another impactful one is when I had a woman who had a lot of trauma with her mother, who's passed.
Mhm.
And when I asked the higher self, like, how do we get through this? She literally yelled, like, top of her lungs, um, turn her to ash and blow her away. And
Okay.
so I just, when she yelled that, I go, do you want to do that? And then she went, like, exhaled very loudly. I felt a, like,
Mm.
really hard. Like, I felt that whatever, it felt like something exploded in the room and it just like hit my chest. Like it was intense. So there's a bunch of stuff like that where it's like it's in the moment, it's interesting, but it's like very what's the word? Very real and very like
Yeah.
you just kind of like don't expect it and you're like, well, okay, that was a thing. Um I have common clients that have certain things. So I would say 90% of the time somebody in their intro will say, "Oh, I have problems with sleep paralysis, and I see shadowy figures." I get a
Mm.
lot of
Mm.
those, a lot.
Yeah.
Like most people have them or see them as a child or still. And they'll even go as far as saying when I'm, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll have this pressure right here on my chest, and then I'll see like black residue, like on my furniture.
Yeah. So you do that currently, like when you're.
Always. No, like I have session. I guarantee you one of the people that I have for my sessions this weekend will talk about paralysis and shadowy black beings. I promise you. It's just like it's my
Wow.
thing. I'm like the QHHT Ghostbuster. I don't know.
Wow,
But
because I've not had that personally. I've not had anyone say that. So yeah, so
and
that must be who are the people who are drawn to you.
perhaps, and they all 100% of them all call on Archangel Michael to remove it.
Yeah.
So that's just one of those
Wow.
things where it's like all these people that are, some are religious, some are not, some are whatever. Like, oh, they just randomly got that idea to call on Archangel Michael to pull the thing away. Like, it's just very,
Mm.
it's very,
Wow.
it's weird to say, but it's also very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. We never know what we're going to see in these. It's
Ever.
crazy. And
No.
I've seen someone's shadow raise up and walk out of the room. I've seen an angel in the corner. I mean, you never know. And then there's times where I see nothing and feel nothing. And then sometimes the energy gets so strong that if I have like something in my hands, like I'm taking notes, my hands start like shaking like crazy. And I have to like you know, ask my spirit guides, ask, my higher self to just kind of calm my body, because it's like I get like, it's like the vibrations get intense. So yeah, you
Oh,
just never know what
100%.
you're going to get. And so
My
I think
vision,
that's
my vision goes
important.
purple.
Your vision goes purple?
Like the whole room will like tint. Only twice
Really?
it's happened. Like it's
That's
almost like when
interesting.
you're outside and a cloud covers the sky and it kind of changes the hue of everything. It feels like that,
Hmm.
but it wasn't, like nothing happened in the sky.
How
That's happened
neat. Yeah.
twice. But that's the same thing with like the amount of energy. Like, yeah, I completely understand with that.
Yeah, yeah. So we always tell our clients, go in with no preconceived notions. Go in with, without like, thinking that you already know what the answers are going to be, because most of the time you do not. Most of the time a lot of people come in and are like, I've had a past life in Egypt, so that's the one I want to see today. No, you see the one that you need to see.
World War One. Like I had these people that were healers that wanted to hear like all kind of Atlantis and this. Both of them were World War One or World War Two, and they were both like
Yeah,
Marines and they're assassins, and they were like the opposite of what they wanted to hear. And
yeah,
they're not the
yeah,
people
and
that
you
would make
never
up. They're not
know.
army people. They're not history army buff people. They're absolutely not. So
Yeah,
it's super
yeah,
random.
yeah,
I'll share
absolutely.
one more thing, and I know we'll go on to the other question, but this happened today, where so a couple of weeks ago, I had a client come in and she just wanted to know like where have I been? I don't feel like I'm from here, and where have I been, and blah blah blah. So the higher self showed her as a person walking through the woods with a big wall, goes infinitely one direction. And so obviously when you hear those things, you're like, maybe we're not like physically there, but it's probably
Mm,
some manifestation of somewhere in the universe that's how you're seeing it, so you understand it.
yeah.
Sounds like a dream, right? So you're like, okay, there's a woods on the left and it's foggy and there's whatever. And she kept walking. And then she was like, oh, there's like a big, tall gray being, like a tall gray, as we would describe them. And I asked the name and she gave some weird name,
Hmm.
Bababarak or Baba or something really weird. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like, well, what is he doing? He's like, he's not talking to me. And I was like, well, can we communicate with him or whatever, whatever? And she's like, I think he's really upset with me. I'm like, why? He's like, he's telling me follow him. He's giving me his hand and he wants me to go somewhere. Fast forward, it turned out when we talked to the higher self, she went to the edges of the universe where she wasn't supposed to go. And that was one of the guardians that
Mm.
was like, hey, you do this all the time, like the hall monitor, like you need to get back to class, get back to, like, she went to a portal and went to this other world, like you need to get back to where you belong.
Wow. Yeah. So
And I
it's
thought
like
it
she
was a
was in
really,
trouble.
it was really, she's trouble, like, because her question was, where have I been? I'm not from here. Well, the answer is everywhere, so much everywhere that you're troublesome, that you go almost to the edges of existence. Today, do you know the Next Level Soul podcast?
Hmm.
uh Anthony, for what's his name, something Ferrari,
Yeah, I don't know the
sorry, I
name.
listen to him all the time and I can't even
Yeah.
um
But I have listened to a couple of those.
There's a episode I think that they brought back from the archives, like the 200s, and they just brought it back because they're on vacation or something. I never listened to it, and this morning I had some time, took the dog to daycare, and I was listening to it in the car. And they were talking about, oh, it was a neuroscience person who's very interesting. Is very much the neuroscience behind all of the stuff we're talking about, but she was very much into plant medicine.
Mhm.
And the host gave his like point of view saying like, oh yeah, in the 60s I knew this guy that would do this stuff, and then he would get yelled at by these entities because he'd go to the edges of the galaxy and get sent back. Like
Hmm.
this is like 3 weeks later, but it's just like,
It's
okay,
interesting. Yeah.
maybe my
So
client
he
listened to
wasn't
that.
the only one causing trouble.
I'm like, maybe my client listened to this story and that was stored subconsciously, but I'm like, probably not.
Maybe, maybe
Pretty,
not. Yeah.
but I
Right.
just heard that too.
I mean, the odds of that are very unlikely, right? Like,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah. Okay.
Um,
All right.
but those
So,
are all the kind of fun ones. But like, and there's been really great healings and stuff. I'll keep those kind of private for the clients. But I've seen some,
yeah,
people
yeah,
repairing nerve
absolutely.
damage
So,
to removing,
yes,
removing hip
yes.
pains and
Tell
things.
us some about that. You don't have to tell us about the client, but you've had different kinds of healings, nerve
Yeah.
damage. Yeah,
Um.
that's pretty
So
intense. I mean, that's a life change for someone.
yeah, and these people went to their doctors. Like it's confirmed. Like they don't share it publicly, but it's amazing that you can help them do those things. Um. One thing that has happened a lot is that people are dying in their past lives too fast before I
Mm.
can get through multiple. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but you're like, oh no, like I can't get, like you get to the first one and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm hanging myself in the garage out of shame. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh gosh, like
Yeah,
we're
or
gonna go to the other
sometimes they
side now.
go into the death scene. But
They
you know,
do,
the
and I
thing is, they see what they're supposed to see. You know, that's what their
agreed.
higher self wants them to see. So, you know, I've had people go in and it's all black. You know, I'm sure you've had some of the all black, can't see
Always.
anything, and there's purpose for that too. And sometimes they're just in a resting place. But yeah, some I have had. You know, it's like you go into a life and you're walking and you fall and you die, and it's like, oh
True.
well, we got there kind of fast. So sometimes when that happens, I'll say, okay, let's back up. Let's go back 10 years and let's see where your life was at
I
that
keep
point. And
I
let's,
keep going, and like we went to the resting place because suicide will go to the resting place, which again,
yeah,
nobody ever hears of these things, and they always describe the same kind of place. They're in like they wrap themselves like a sun-like energy around them, and who's there is Archangel Michael tending to this person, and
yeah,
like at that point, I'm like, I'm not going to go through the script and ask for the higher self. Like I'm going to have this person ask Archangel Michael these questions because he's going to make the connection. Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like I joke and I'm like, I'm pretty sure he can get you the answers, right? And they're like, yeah, he's laughing, like, yes. But that's happened in almost every single one where someone has died, and I'm like, I'm not going to bother, like, because then I feel like if I bring in their higher self at that point, it's almost like I'm bringing the mic back to them, and they don't have any like um assurances that the information is coming from them. But sometimes they want to hear it through a third party, which is
mm,
really still them, right? Like, spoiler alert, it's
yeah,
all you,
yeah.
right? So but the last
Yep.
few I've had God, Archangel Michael, and um a spirit guide council do the questions, because and then their voices change over a while, then it kind of shifts to the higher self at the end of it, or like in the middle of it. They stop answering the questions and they start answering themselves. But that's been a kind of a cool thing, which I think is going to be a trend a lot of people will see, is just like cut the past life stuff. Like, if get to the point, be done with it, and then let's get to the questions and answers, and let's get the stuff moving. And that's what I've noticed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it may just be some,
Uh-oh. I think I'm by myself now. Last time there were storm issues, so I don't know. Give her a minute. I don't have anything prepared. No songs or numbers. Let's see. I'm not actually looking at the chat right now, so let me go in and see. People are. You're back
I
and
am,
muted.
I am back. I don't know what happened. And I have no camera. Like,
All good. So I think like maybe during COVID, I was one of those people that like Twitch streamed a lot. So I'm like, I'm just gonna have to talk.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I like my camera is on, but it's just black. So I don't know. I don't know. No coincidences. So it's all
All
good.
good.
It's all good. So Matt, tell us now how someone can find you. How can they get a session with you? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yep. So I have two friends that also wanted to get into doing their own practices. We happened to go to a healing center um, in Troy, Michigan, which is very close to me. And we found a place and we said, let's just split rent and book it up to the point where we overflow and we have to rent out more space, etc. So we created a collective group called Thrive Mind and Light. So it's THRIVEMINDANDLIGHT.com. So it's spelled out that way. But we just launched our site today, so it's going through much iteration, but we offer QHHT, Reiki energy healing, and EFT and TFT for right now. But we're looking for other like-minded healers that want to collaborate. We're hoping to do a bunch of events and getting the community together. But instead of going into our separate websites, separate marketing, separate this, and this, that we can benefit from really mixing content about what we're learning across all these modalities to help people. So again, so not everyone has to follow. I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah,
You heard
keep
this
going
earlier.
because for some reason I keep disappearing.
It's all good. But I was just saying we formed a collective group so that we can share our knowledge together. The social media streams can then have collective knowledge across modalities of what we're learning, etc. Yeah, you can go to our website and you can book directly. And if you want to email me, my name MATT at thrivemindandlight.com. I'm offering QHHT sessions right now on weekends. And I'm actually looking to expand into doing some tarot and other stuff like that, but in the near future. So keep a lookout. And then on socials, I'll post more. There will be a Thrive Mind and Light Facebook and such, and there'll be information on offerings there.
Okay, perfect. So once we're done here, if you want to put all of those, your email address and your website just in the comments,
sure.
That would be great. That way, anyone that needs a session, they know where to find you, and then they can go to your website and look around too. So for some reason, my good camera quit working, and now it's just my webcam, so I'm a little fuzzy. I don't know what happened.
You look fine.
So, anyway, there's no storm tonight, so I don't know what's going on, but anyway. So now, thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate.
Thank you for having me.
With me. It has been a pleasure learning more about you and about your experience with QHHT. And so now we are going to shift to some live readings. If I disappear again, don't worry. I will be back. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, but who knows? So if you want a reading, just comment, post a comment. We've got all kinds of comments already in here, but these would be just about readings specifically. So hey, Veronica.
Hi, Veronica.
Hey, Allison. So if you want a reading, just comment that you want a reading. And if you have a specific question, just put that in there. If you just want a general reading, that's fine too. And Matt would like to know your sign, right? Like for
it helps. It helps, but not required.
Okay, so if you want to put your sign in there, let's see. I am a Leo Virgo, but it depends on my birthday's actually tomorrow, so August 22nd.
Oh, nice! Happy birthday!
Yeah, thank you. And so when I look at some calendars or some of these charts, it's my birthday. I'm a Leo, and sometimes I'm a Virgo. I'm like, I don't know what I am. Maybe I'm a mix. I'm not sure.
That's excellent. We are all a little mix of something when it comes to. We're all unique.
Absolutely. Okay, so all right. Tanya, I think, was the first to say, Yes, please. So she wants a reading. Do you want to go ahead and do
No,
this
you kick
one?
it off. Your show. No,
Okay.
no.
All right. All right. So Tanya, I know Tanya. And do you have a specific question? Leo, you're a Leo. Oh, you're a Leo too. Okay. So you just had a birthday? Or it's, I guess, this month? Or maybe part of last month. I don't know the exact dates. I'm not great on these. But she is a Leo and she just wants a general reading. Okay. All right, Tanya. So I'm gonna I'm gonna do one card from the Akashic Tarot and one card from the Animal Guides. That's what I'm feeling that you need today, Tanya. Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, we got the Ark of the Covenant and we got it in reversed position. So what this tells me, hmm, so this is about a contract or an agreement. Maybe not a contract, not a legal contract, but like maybe an agreement you made with someone. But I got the card reversed. So what I'm seeing is that there's been a breach of that agreement. There's been something. Um, this could be even a relationship. I don't know if this is. I'm not seeing what it is. I'm just hearing that there's been a breach of the agreement, and someone didn't hold up their end of the deal, and there's some hurt, and there's some maybe some unforgiveness or some oh, I guess just like I don't know, frustration. Frustration's the word I'm hearing. And then the animal guide card for you is the squirrel. I can see that. I can see you being a squirrel, Tanya. Um, be cautious about living a life of extremes or seeing things in black and white terms. Consider, for example, whether you are spending too much versus hoarding your wealth or giving too much emotionally versus building walls that keep people out. So I think this definitely goes with the Ark of the Covenant card. This is a relationship matter. This is a relationship where someone did not hold up their end of the deal. This could be a friend or a business partner. I feel like this is business. This is business. This is something to do with business. Someone didn't hold up their end of the deal, and you've been holding some maybe animosity against that person, and that's building up walls inside of you. So, what I'm hearing is you need to let go, and you need to forgive, and once you do, that situation can be remedied or healed, and and you'll be able to release that um, whatever that is that's kind of even holding you back. So that's what I'm seeing. Hopefully that was helpful, but that's what I saw for you, Tanya. Okay, Tanya, general reading. We've got Allison. Do you know Allison?
I don't.
Oh,
Hi,
okay.
Allison.
Yes. Okay. I didn't know if that was someone that was here for you or for or just in general. So do you want to do this one? She's a Cancer. She just
Sure.
wants a general reading.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to do two spread, which is going to be basically what the querent needs to know and advice and guidance. So, and I'm just going to do Rider Waite. And they also have an Oracle deck from it's called the Journeys in the Liminal Space. So I'll do that as kind of the qualifier at the end.
Okay.
So we have the Queen of Pentacles. It has to do with nurturing. It has to be of understanding and somebody that has to do with. So it has to do about managing home or managing money. The Queen of Pentacles is above all understanding. So it really has to do with trusting in either yourself or somebody that you may need to look towards as a patron to look at matters of whatever it is that you're trying to build, whether it's a business, whether it's wealth, whether it's whatever. And the next card is some other Pentacles, and then the next one is the Hanged Man. Oftentimes people think of this one as stopping and slowing, but that's really not what it is. This is actually what we talked about earlier, Janine, which is like just kind of surrender and stopping. So
Mm,
everyone, I think, sometimes forgets that the hangman has the halo. and is the transition from kind of chaos and a lot of movement, a lot of confusion, back into kind of that like compression of either balance or into kind of like understanding of where to go. So the Hanged Man is really important to know that like just stopping, take a breath, it'll be over before you know it, etc. And then the Oracle card, spell it out. So that's just kind of a confirmation around that. You see the ABCDs or IQB, DAG. I don't know if that is funny for something or if it's just random blocks, but really it's going down to basics. Go to the basics. So whenever you get overwhelmed, whenever you're looking at something and everything is all in, instead of going to the emotional space, go down to basics, break it down into its parts. That's it.
Good deal. Awesome. All right, Patty. Patty is a Libra. I will go ahead and do Patty.
Oh, Allison is from Miranda's group. I do know Allison. Sorry, there's a big chat of us that talk, and I try to keep up.
All
It's
right.
impossible. Thank you, Allison, for joining.
All right. So Patty, I'm going to pull one from the Akashic Tarot. So you got the Muse card, and I got it in reverse. So the Muse. So this is about having fun. This is about. So what I'm saying is that you need to lighten up. That's what I'm seeing is that there, that life is too short to be too serious. Life is too short to worry and um, to always just focus on things that aren't fun or aren't light or aren't peace for you. So what I'm seeing is that you need to find your inner child and go have some fun. And that, I don't know, that could be anything. I'm seeing getting out in nature. I'm seeing that you need to maybe take a walk, take a barefoot walk out in nature, do some grounding, and, pick a flower, watch the squirrels, and just, just enjoy life. That's what I'm seeing is that you need to enjoy life more. And so the animal guides card that I just pulled is it's this little bird, and it says, "You are about to take a big leap forward with your life. Worry will be replaced with optimism, fear with hope, and joy is coming home." So that goes exactly with the Muse card, making sure that you just enjoy life. Just there's something getting ready to shift if you allow it, but you have to allow it, right? Like you have to be willing to take that jump and stop being so serious all the time. All right. I struggle with that myself. I probably need to take that advice myself too because I'm too serious. All right, Patty. Okay, now we have a general reading, Virgo. Joanna. Do you know Joanna?
I do from the Sedona retreat. Joanna is an amazing. There's a few people from the retreat in here that I met. But thanks for joining, Joanna. So I'm just doing a quick.
I know I missed that retreat. I wanted to go. I didn't get to. So I'm hoping for. Have they announced the next one?
No, but it should be like January, February.
Yeah, I was hoping they'd announce it soon. I definitely want to go to the next one.
They're amazing. I can't. We'd have to have a whole nother discussion about it. Like it was amazing. 8 is weight, right? So 8 of Pentacles. In numerology, 8 is let the universe, like you got to take a step back and let things play out. So as you go from 6 to 7 to 8, 6 is the ascended master number. It's about in Pentacles. It's about giving. 7 is 6 is fixed. 7 is engine, which means like let the universe kind of work its way through. And 8 is wait for that to come through. So you see here in this photo, a person diligently kind of working on their craft, but I almost feel like this is like you need to do the opposite of it with whatever is manifesting right now, whether it's with business. It sounds like business again because Pentacles, but it's really kind of a stop and wait time. So the more effort you put in is you're going against kind of the flow where things are supposed to be going. And the Ace of Wands is kind of confirmation of that. So the advice to you would be to really think about the next thing. Let this thing play through and let it go through. It's going to come out fine. But really it's like on to the next thing. Put your energy towards like, what are you going to create out of nothing? What's that thing that's going to spark that passion? Until kind of let that thing manifest. And then as far as the oracle's concerned, I shuffled these, I promise. Put another spell it out.
Same one.
I just shuffled it actually quite nervous. Like I do that as my fidget. So I shuffled this quite a lot. But this is really going back to basics again, like thinking about and breaking things into its parts and thinking about very small steps. Do not take big steps. Think about them all in their very kind of sequential parts.
Nice.
So that's for you. Thanks for coming, Joanna. It's good to see you.
All right. Happy birthday. Thank you. All right. Cancer, Michelle Maynard. Okay. All right.
She's another Sedona person.
Okay. Another Sedona person. All right. I'm going to pull a card for Michelle. And I'm feeling 2 from the Akashic Tarot. Okay. Oh, nice. Okay. So I got the Queen of Roses first. I love this one. And then the initiation and the Count Saint Germain. And so the Queen of Roses, this is always about a powerful woman. And I believe this is you. This is you. This is you stepping into your power, taking back what is yours. Maybe some things have been taken away. Maybe there's some things in your past that have held you back. But you know that you have the power to overcome, and you have the power to move forward. And that's what this card is about, you taking your power back. And this initiation card, this is like the Christ consciousness, like the like part of taking your power back is knowing the power that you have inside of you, the power. Now it just muted me randomly. But
that was Michelle's power.
Yeah, Michelle, calm your power for a second. And but it's about getting your power back and then taking that leap forward and showing your power to the world. That's what I'm seeing. So you got this. Whatever step that is, I don't know, but I think you
Michelle
do.
is a master manifester.
Nice.
Like we got parking spots from her.
Wow, awesome,
like
awesome.
Lots.
So I think that
she can do more than that, but I'm just saying.
Hey, that's important sometimes. But Michelle, I think that card is saying, just confirming that power and saying, go for your dreams. Okay, Wendy Clark, Libra. Do you want to do Wendy?
Sure. Wendy is also a fellow identical twin that I met who also lives in Michigan. That was also in the Sedona treat.
All right.
So, Wendy, Libra. Oof. All right. This is weird because I already know her debacle, but this is just confirming it. 5 of Swords, conflict. This has to do with egos and mind, fighting it out, etc. 5. So one thing I've learned in my tarot courses I love is like we're studying mysticism and Kabbalah. So if you look at the Tree of Life, this is number 5, which is Gabora, which is just like chaos. So if you look at the left and right side of the Tree of Life, it's like breathe in, and then the feminine says, nope, you have a wall. You got to breathe back out, and it kind of goes back and ping pongs back and forth and back and forth. So whenever you have conflict, you have kind of 2 choices. You go towards Tiferet, which is centeredness, or you go down into what's called glory, which is kind of like picking the pieces up. So it's really interesting learning that because you can interpret this person beat them all and is collecting their swords, or they're going to collect them all and give them back to them and say like, whatever, we don't need to be fighting. But this is about conflict. This is about battle of wits and ideals. And the advice here is really you need to look at diversified opinions, right? So 3s are always going to be around choices, and it's also going to be If you want to go back into mysticism, you're looking at what's called Bina, which is when people start realizing that they're not you're not the same anymore. You're not all source. You all have separate entities. You're all different people, and it's the numerical number of understanding. So here you see that you have an architect going over the work, but then you have a draper that's going to drape the cathedral, and then you have an artist that's going to paint it. So this is all about collaboration. So the advice to you is to look to collaborate, maybe less about trying to be proven right. And then the oracle is fortune favors the bold. So my intuition is telling me that this is really kind of let it go, let people kind of take the wheel for a little bit, see what they do with it. Obviously you have to keep, you don't want to completely drop your project, or you don't want to drop what's going on, but like maybe trust in others to maybe produce things that you maybe would be surprised otherwise.
All right. Awesome. Okay, Misty. I will pull a card for Misty. Anyone that's already commented, we will get to you, but we don't want to.
That's your twin sister, by the way.
Can you hear me now?
Michelle, stop fiddling with the audio. Thanks.
I know. Okay, so Misty, I'm doing an animal guides card for you. This is what I'm feeling that you need. You are a Libra. Okay. All right. Why does it keep muting me? It doesn't want me to speak. Rescue dog. Let me get this out. Okay. So you may receive a promotion, be chosen for a scholarship, or find that you are singled out for special recognition. You've done an amazing job and you deserve all the attention. So what I'm seeing with this card, actually, I'm going to pull a second one. Second one is the bluebird. So the bluebird. It says your plans will work out well. It keeps wanting to mute me. Bringing you happiness, prosperity, and success. You'll garner the recognition of your accomplishments you so richly deserve. And so I feel like this is saying you're coming into your own. You're past the battle. You've been rescued. You've been freed from any kind of past hurt that has been holding you back, and now it's time to live free. And you are going to find success with that. You're going to find that your plans work out a little easier than they used to, and to just trust in that and to just move forward in that. I've never had this happen, but it keeps wanting to mute me. Yeah, so it's so weird. Tanya's birthday is 8/11. Hey, Missy, thank you. You're welcome. And Miranda's crew. I'm just going through all the comments that we got. Is it too late to ask for a reading? Would you like to do Veronica? Oh, no, now you're muted.
But I did that on purpose because I was shuffling cards. Oh, okay. Hi, Veronica. Okay. Thank you for joining. I know Veronica. All right.
Yeah, I thought, oh no, now it went to the other side. It's muting Matt too.
Okay, we're starting off on a journey. We're starting off on firing up a passion, right? So the Two of Wands is always about moving in a direction. It's making a choice, but the choice is in front of you, and it's starting to plan your movements. You have the kind of thing in your hand, that passion, whatever it is you're going to work. You're looking out to port. You're on your way to start to embark. And the star really is about, I love this. So I'm going to go into I'm just obsessed with going through the Tree of Life through the Hermetic discipline. But the star in Hebrew means hook, like a fish hook. And this is all about going into internal, like a fish into the hook, into your mind, which is the subconscious, into the waters to pull out intuition. So a lot of times people are like, oh, the high priestess secret is intuition. Sure, maybe. But the star is all about bringing in that knowledge, opening yourself up to the field to bring in that knowledge that's going to help move you. So it's really about looking inwardly and trusting yourself and intuition. To give it a little bit more flavor, because it's like, oh, trust your intuitions, like, no duh. This really means that the answer is in you, and if you keep going out externally asking, you're not going to go anywhere. It's going to go in circles and circles. It's inside. The star is the thing that you have to pull out from the emptiness that's in there, which is the subconscious, which is the infinite knowledge. I don't know what this one means. Kill your darlings. It is the coolest picture, though. Do you see it? There's so much going on. I'm going to pull the book and hold this up because you can literally study this. Kill your darlings. There's like a wormhole and a crashed UFO and a torch. And so let me real quick. I don't know all of these that well. I just got this stuck. I'm obsessed with it. There's bravery in breaking your own heart, and now it's time to be brave. In writing, darlings are the most loved and therefore most overused phrases by writers. In life, there are habits, addictions, laurels, and comforts. To avoid becoming boring and predictable, kill a darling. Doing so will invariably lead to a fresher source of inspiration.
I'm hearing embrace the chaos.
Yeah, go for break. This literally is just like punch holes, like literally through time and space. Like crash the ship, go for a joyride. Don't overthink things. Like I think it has to do a lot with the star too. It's kind of the same thing where it's like just go and do it. Right? It's inside of you. Just trust it and go. One foot in the land, one into the water, which means you have kind of your foot in both realms. Trust them both.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Veronica, you go for it. Okay. Allison said, "LO, thanks, Matt." Patty, you're welcome. Hello, Joanna. Veronica is also Miranda's group. All right. You're welcome. Just going down. Okay, Wendy, we already did Wendy, didn't we? I think she just posted.
You don't get two. You got to wait a month.
Yep, don't get two. All right, and Michelle just thinks we're hilarious. Let's see. I think that may be it. Thanks, Matt. This makes sense. Good deal.
Hi, Corinne.
Hey.
Also met in Sedona.
Yeah, she's been on the show. She's been on the show a few months ago. I don't know. I always lose track of time. Time is an illusion anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? Like it's been a while.
I think it was right after. It was like in early June. I saw that episode.
Yeah, I guess so. It's been a while.
Do you want a birthday reading?
That's what's that?
You want a birthday reading?
Sure. Yeah.
You have a question?
I don't.
All right. We'll do the three. Pat, like what influences from the past, what's the situation, and what to expect. Consider for the future. All right?
All right.
All right. From the past, new journeys and embarks. We just had this one again, right? So this is like thinking about what am I going to do, starting a new work project. This has nothing to do with, like, this can do with passions, sex, blah, 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 but this is definitely work for you. So a new business is definitely something that's on the horizon. Immediate past. Yeah. Ooh, heartbreak. So, okay, this one actually is a misnomer. Everybody always thinks this is like, bad or good or whatever, but 3 is understanding what's really going on from like getting into the weeds of it. So it's not necessarily heartbreak per se, but it's the mind overreacting and comparing yourself to what other people are doing, what other businesses are setting up, and figuring out like, where do I fit into all of this? So that's what comes to me for this one. It's really about like, I'm here and there's all these other people. We're no longer connected. Remember I said 3 has to do with Bina, which is the goddess of understanding, but it's also the understanding that we're not the same. But as you remember with this energy, there's the sun behind there. Just because the clouds are there doesn't mean the sun's gone. It's just a perspective that this kind of like this level of energy is bringing right now can cause cloudiness. And that's what's going on in the situation. Is there's some like uncertainty, I would say, from that. And what to expect in the future is the Hermit. And then everyone always talks about like, oh, introspection. Maybe I don't get that for this. So the hermit is actually God, and it's God's traversing from. So when you have the major arcana cards, you go from one ball on the tree of life to another. They're actually all like the little transit systems between. And this is going from mercy, which is kind of like grounding and just starting off, into the ascended masters, Sephiroth, which is one of the balls, which is Tefret. And that's really about like those are the ascended master. That's all about generosity and giving, but that's kind of like the balanced power spot, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but remember that that light in there is actually the star, which is also like parallel to it, which is what God holds in his hand. And the hermit means the hand. And really, this is all about like you remembering who you are and that you can accomplish this and that you are going to accomplish this because you are that thing that's going to be done, right? Like you are that spark of inspiration. You are that thing from that. And it's just like, it's almost like God carrying himself to that next stage in it. And sometimes that's done through introspection, but I think this is more about like looking internally to say, I have the power to do it. This is a very like masculine, like direct energy thing. So the more that you do actual work and less thinking, you'll counteract that
Mhm.
kind of three of swords, what have you. And then for an oracle, here's one of the naughty ones. This is like
The
dumpster fire,
suckling.
etc. But for me, I don't think that's something that's an outcome. To me, that's just something that you're gonna just go through a lot of shit to get there, and that's just the
Yeah.
process. I don't think it has anything to
Yeah.
do with like this is your
That's not
destination.
even a real word.
I think it's like the happening. I don't know. Somebody was like
The
on
fucking.
shrooms or something when they did this. But I think it just has to do with like everything is a hot mess in business and what you do.
Yeah.
And the more you try to polish and clean it up, it's just useless. Just keep going. Like
Mm.
it's a really
That's so
silly
perfect.
thing. The
This
dumbest
is
people
perfect.
make the most money because they don't think that much. Sorry,
Yep, yep.
but it's
This
true.
is perfect because I am starting another business. Another. This is my third one, and yeah. So all that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it. I thank you so much for being here too. Like
Yeah.
you are like you really know your stuff when it comes to these cards and the oracles. So you definitely have to pursue that. I know you mentioned to me before we got on here that you were going to um, be doing that later on.
Yep. I'll offer that, I think, in a month or so. I have too
Yeah.
much going on in my life right now. Like I can't.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. But you're
I have
super
to be
knowledgeable with
I have
that.
to be
So
clear
it's
headed.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Well, thank
appreciate you
you.
and
Yeah,
happy
no
birthday.
problem. Yeah, well, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for getting on and joining. I hope the readings were helpful for all of you. And make sure that you check out Matt's website. Email him if you want a session. Matt, make sure you put that in the comments after we get done here. But yeah, so thank you so much, Matt. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you next time on the Happy Soul Show.